It's time for us to unequivocally and without delay step into the era of true spiritual realization and awareness of reality as it is. In the world from which we've just come, which has been really beset by lower levels of contracted consciousness, in which greed, exploitation, and the desire for power and control has been the ruling factor underpinning the entirety of our civilizational structure for the last 50,000 years or more, obviously predating the last 10,000 years of formalized civilizational structure. We're now stepping into the long awaited time where true vision, true perception of reality as it is, will be the only guiding light forward. This means that all ideologies, all beliefs, all philosophies, all notions of reality as particulated and partitioned by cultural division, religious division, national division, racial division, division between sexes and gender, all of that must come to an end. And it is coming to an end. It's already ended. The infinite and eternal reality of what is has always been the truth, is the truth, and will always be the truth. And there's nothing that's needed for this other than the willingness to let go of everything you think you are and everything you think you ought to be. The danger here is that it's really a zero-sum game, in the sense that the sum is quite literally zero. And trying to squeeze through the door, trying to come through the gate, carrying anything with you, is simply out of the question. To put it very simply, and I hope you can hear what I'm saying through these words, God is one. Reality is one. God is not an image created by any religion. You can throw out everything you think you know from any book, from any scripture, from any document, from any tradition, from any religion. Those were all child's play toys meant for people who were so deeply caught in the consciousness of ego that they needed stacks and stacks and stacks of words to occupy themselves to slowly try to point them toward the right direction. But we are far too advanced for this. We're too mature for this. We've really got to be willing to face death, to come into the inner heart of the matter, the sanctum sanctorum, the holy of holies, which is right here. This might come as a bit of a shock or a surprise to people, and it may make a lot of people angry, but the fact of the matter is that all teachings, all scriptures, all mythologies, all stories, multidimensional stories meant to point to you, which includes all mythologies, are showing you who you are and what you are, but the real thing. All methods, all practices, all traditions, and that includes even the modern practices of astrology and tarot. Yes, I understand that they have some history, that's fine, and some are older even than certain so-called established religious traditions. The point is still this. Everything that we use as an idea, as a method, especially in the modern spiritual movement wherein which tarot and astrology are put up on a pedestal and seen as the practices, those are all training wheels. And we're entering into a period now where all training wheel practices must be dashed off and thrown into the fire. We're not using training wheels anymore. They're not necessary. They're not necessary. The sum total of the rune staves and what the rune staves are pointing toward is your own consciousness, your own being. You know, there's a difference between the runes and the rune staves. The staves are the two-dimensional glyphs, the figures that are meant to represent the runes, the original 24 of which represent the 24 strands of consciousness, which are all pointing toward the same formlessness, which is the origin of what we call consciousness, which you could say is capital C, consciousness itself. You see, everything points toward that. The whole of astrology is a map of the human mind. It's a map of the entirety of human consciousness, which all points back to its own source. Everything that is manifest points back to its own source. And so all of our traditions, our religions, our mythologies, all of our methodologies are all meant to illuminate and point back to grab your attention and to throw you back into the true self. everything is pointing to the source of creation. Everything is pointing toward the source of creation. I call it God, you can call it Source, the Great Mystery, Great Spirit. You can call it by any name. You can call it Allah, you can call it Krishna, you can call it Shiva, you can call it Christ, you can call it the Buddha mind, you can call it anything at all. It's namelessness itself. It is formlessness itself. And all form is made of this formlessness. And all names belong to the nameless one, which is what we are finally. And this is what all scripture, this is what all mythology is pointing toward. You are the shaman. You are the wizard. You are God. Not the ego, and what the ego thinks that means. Because the ego thinks that God, just like king, means I'm the ruler, and you're the subject, and you do what I say for my pleasure and my gratification, which is all a projection of toxified ego. That's not what God is. That's a child's image of God. That's not what a king is. That's a child's image of a king. And yet so many adults, grown adults, throughout millennia and millennia and millennia have idolized that childish image of a god or a king and tried to mimic and conform to that ideal in order to be a tyrant, an exploiter, an abuser, and a bully. That has nothing to do with the reality of God. It has nothing to do with the reality of sovereignty. It has nothing to do with the reality of consciousness. The real thing is the perception that there is only one energy, that there is one source, there's one life, there's one heart, there's one vibration, there is one being, there is only one flesh, and that is I. We are I, and I is one. It's so simple, and yet it demands total simplicity. And there's no use hiding from it any longer. We never could hide from it anyway, we could only pretend, but alas, we've reached the end of our rope. There's no more room to hide, and there's nowhere to hide anyway, nor is there anywhere to run. Here we are. Everywhere you look, there is God. Everywhere you look, there is the source of creation. And it is pure love. And this love is ecstasy. It is wisdom. It is peace. It is joy. It contains everything. And the ecstasy of the nature of its being is wisdom itself. And it doesn't belong to you or me. It doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to no culture. It belongs to no religion. It belongs to no nation. It belongs to no teacher, no preacher, no guru, no priest, no shaman. It belongs to everything and everybody because it is everything and everybody. Everything that is it manifest. Everything is holy. Everything is sacred. That which is has no beginning and no end. And its eternal dance is one of the apparition of form. And to know this is to be plugged into that eternal and free, unlimited supply of energy, clean energy, pure energy, with no side effect, with no pitfall. And to be aware of yourself as this is to be a living Buddha, is to be a living image of Christ, is to be a Christed one, is to be awake and aware in the world, knowing that you are everything and everything is in you, and seeing that that means that you are here as a steward, you are here to care for everything and everyone, which we all are. And there's no possible way you could hear this or even be in the presence of this energy unless it was true of you too. And to be honest, it's true of everything and everyone, whether they know it or not. Everything comes from the source. Everything is the source manifest. This is the one reality. And when you see that everything is in you and you're in everything, it's done. It's complete. There's no more need to go chasing prophecy and prediction. It has no meaning. There's no point in going and chasing tarot cards to find out when your lover is going to come and what your next job is going to be. That's all pitiful, pissant, piddly little bullshit. I'm sorry, but it's garbage. It has nothing. It's just distraction. It's a way to keep you just running. And you really see that's what everything always was the whole time. It's just pushing you forward by, it's a carrot on a stick, keeping you running along by whatever means necessary until you were finally brave enough to jump into the void. The same thing with tarot cards. They're all just pointing to you. The whole story of the major arcana is just the story of awakening. It's the story of the journey. But once the awakening happens, you see there never was a journey. There's no journey. The journey is a facade. It's a front. It's an illusion. Because we've entered into the field of time. We've entered into history. And as long as we're in the field of history, there must be an apparent journey. Because that's what the flow of history is. But once you step outside of history, once you step outside of time, and back into the original state, you see there never was time. The journey is an illusion. History is an illusion. The past and the future are illusions. And we're chasing our own tails. We're chasing ignorance, hoping that ignorance will one day convert itself into wisdom, and it simply can't do that. Wisdom is. It always has been and always will be. And it doesn't belong to anybody. It's not the byproduct of knowledge or the byproduct of experience. Wisdom is when all experience and all knowledge is allowed to be put to the side. And then all experience and all knowledge and all form is used in the service of wisdom. Not the other way around. And this is true whether it's 10,000 years ago or 20 million years ago or 50 million years into the future. Truth can never be taken and turned into anything by anybody. No religion can say it has the truth, no philosophy, no culture. Truth is eternal and ever-present, and you either know it or you know it not. And when you know it as the essence of your own being and the essence of all being. And as a human being, we have the capacity to know this or to be ignorant of it. That's all. And every single human being in all places and all times that have ever touched this and become aware of this have all stepped into awareness of the unity of our being. I am every human being that ever has been, that is, and ever will be. I am every creature, every rock, every stone, every bird, every mountain, every planet, every galaxy. I am. Every deity, every being, everything that is, that ever has been, that ever will be, is me. That I am. Is you. You are that. We are that. We are I. We are one. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to planet Earth. Welcome home. Welcome home. All systems and institutions, which have been all of them, that seek to cover this up or ignore it or look away from it, are all violent institutions that will not last into the new world. All the violent, exploitative institutions are coming down. Consciousness is the new currency. Consciousness means the recognition that everything is here. Masculine and feminine are all right here. I am Shiva. Welcome.